Welcome to the Players Ball podcast for AT Aliens by AT Aliens. I'm your host, Alex the Great. As always, I'm joined with my brother from another, MB. Um, and we got some more sports talk. Go figure. Hope everybody's all right out there. We want you to continue to like, subscribe. We got some new subscribers. Come on now. And I think there's some ladies in there. Come on, ladies, with the subscription. We appreciate that. Keep watching. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Um, Today on the pod, somebody's getting fired, but you had to stick around to hear that. We're going to start with a WNBA question. The Atlanta Dream. Right now, Maddie, they are 3-2 on the season. They're third in the East. Um, Caitlin Clark is in the league. Angel Reese is in the league. They're taking the league by storm. There was a question asked, and I'm going to forward to you. Do you care?
No. About the dream
Oh,
specifically. All right. And I say no, and we laugh. But in reality, since the dream have come to Atlanta, I say I've paid attention from afar, but really far. To the extent of if they're in the playoffs or, if they're in the WNBA finals, which they were for a few years. Like I was
mhm,
interested in knowing that, but not interested enough to watch. Like I was interested enough to check and see, oh, hey, they won the finals or they lost the finals or they're in the playoffs, but that's about it. And my stance has kind of stayed the same relatively on them
mm,
specifically. Now, the WNBA as a whole, am I interested? I do find what's going on fascinating. I find it fascinating from a social standpoint, which we discussed kind of a few weeks ago with the the chatter around Caitlin Clark and her, you know, race and sexuality and how that impacts her popularity, and then also from a business standpoint it's a very interesting time for the league as they grow or they attempt to grow, piggybacking off this you know mass media interest, public interest that they have right now. So
mhm.
I am interested in the WNBA as a whole for those two specific segments.
Yeah, I would agree with your first answer. It's not a firm no. They can win me over. I haven't seen any games but dream games. I told you last week I watched one in its entirety, and the product on the floor did not inspire me to check back in. But I want to still catch a home game. Not necessarily one with Caitlin Clark. I would actually love to see her play in person, but we'll see. We'll see where that one goes. But product on the floor hasn't been exciting for me, and it's been all over the place as far as the availability to view it. Right, I saw that there was games on Prime, and Peachtree TV always has games on. Do you get Peachtree TV up there?
Yeah,
Like an antenna? Yeah. Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't have an antenna.
Oh,
I
you
get
got
it.
it. You got a cable. That's right. But yeah, no, I'm not incredibly interested. Um, and then there's even been like items or stories on the social where I think a player became the all-time points leader in the
Mm.
WNBA, and to get it, maybe she scored on her ex-fiance to get the bucket, who was the previous holder of the record, and she was assisted by her new fiance, is something that I heard, right? Like
That's a soap opera right there.
that's exactly what they called it, was a soap opera. So, but I'm, I don't need that. I don't I'll watch something weird on Netflix, right? Um, so no, I don't care yet. But I'm a root for the home team, so I consider myself a Dream supporter. How would you feel rocking a Dream jersey?
I don't even know what they look like, to tell you the truth.
They're
So
powder blue like
I
your favorite Thrashers jersey.
yeah,
Powder
so
blue and red.
I know their colors, I know their logo, but I couldn't tell you. I could imagine what their jerseys look like off the top of my head. I mean, if there was a player worthy of that kind of support, I'll tell you, if Maya Moore had played for the Dream, I could see myself rocking that jersey. You know, her being a
Mm,
hometown hero of sorts, an outstanding person, and an absolute baller on the court. I could rock that. There's not really anyone in the WNBA that I can really relate with. You know, I am intrigued by what's going on with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, and the last 2 years that we've kind of gotten to see them play in the NCAA. But beyond that, like, there's not any storyline in the WNBA that resonates with me. There's not a player that I connect to that I really care about, on a, you know, enough to want to buy a jersey. You know what I mean?
yeah. I think I knew that they drafted Ryan Howard. Um, and I watched her highlights. They were around. And she's a baller, so I like her. I root for her. But if she played anywhere else, I probably wouldn't care. And maybe I'll change that, maybe I don't. We'll just see how it goes. I am gonna try to pay a little more attention, and I think going to a game in person would probably help, like to feel the excitement, or it's just gonna completely end it. Like, nope, look just like it did on TV. Not interested, but we will see.
I'll
Um,
Let me flip the question on you real quick. What are your feelings on the College Park Skyhawks?
about the same.
Would you
Uh,
rock a
a little
Skyhawks?
different there. A little different with the Skyhawks. One, to answer your second question first, probably not, right? I have a Hawks jersey, rocking the semi-pro team. Just I don't know why I would do that if I have the pro team. But two, there are a lot of times where actual Hawks, professional Hawks, are sent down. Right? Adrian Griffin was sent down. He played with the Skyhawks. Kobe Buffkin played with the Skyhawks. Hell, even Jalen Johnson was down there for a little bit playing with the Skyhawks. So you could see some legit talent down there. And then there's always like the former NBA stars who are trying to make their way back into the league via the G League that are playing in these games too. So you're gonna see some real live hoopers. Um, not to say that you're gonna see the dunks and the swagger and excitement, and maybe that's what I'll see, less the dunks when I see the WNBA in person. But Skyhawks are, I think it's a different animal.
I think, I equate it to like the minor leagues in baseball. There's a,
Hmm.
double A team not far from me. I've been to a few games in the past. There's actually I don't know if they're a double A, triple A, single A affiliate, but up in Chattanooga, which is still not, you know, that incredibly far from me. That when I was working up in Dalton, we caught a couple Chattanooga Lookouts games, and
Mm,
you'll see household names, guys on injury rehab stints that play, Max Freeds or Mike Sorokas. Even when Ronnie was coming up, he came up real
He played
fast,
with the Stripers.
but he
Yeah.
played with the Stripers, so you could see some of those household names, but the quality of game is still lesser, right?
Mm-hmm.
Overall,
Yeah.
because the talent level from 1 through 9 is not the same as 1 through 9 in the big leagues. On the court, your roster 1 through 5 is not the same talent level as 1 through 5 in the G League. So it does diminish the quality on the court some to make it less interesting to me personally. Now, I've got a G Braves hat behind me, and
I've
they
got one.
have
Yeah.
they have some dope minor league club, uniforms, t-shirts, hats. Some of the best baseball hats in the league are from minor league clubs.
Like the
So
Trash Pandas.
the Trash
That's my personal
Pandas,
favorite.
the El Paso Fighting Chihuahuas.
Yeah.
Um, the names are outrageous. The Rome Braves are now the Rome Emperors, and it's a
Yeah.
penguin in a toga.
Yeah. That
And
one I was actually thinking about getting.
I, I've looked a few times and been like, that hat's pretty cool. But
Yeah.
I have a hard time. I got the one behind me from my father-in-law as a gift,
Mm.
so I can't say I spent my own hard-earned money on it.
I
But
got that exact hat, and I got it because it's the G, it's the stamp, right?
yeah.
Gwinnett, it's the North, you know. So that's why I got it. And I don't think I paid full price for it, but I rock it all the time.
Yeah.
It still looks like a Braves hat. It's just a G.
So I got those hats, or that hat and another one that's the same one, and then he offered me a bobblehead of one of my favorite current Braves, Austin Riley. And I was like, heck yeah, I'll
Mm.
take it. What I didn't realize, it's Austin Riley in a camo Gwinnett Stripers uniform, holding a crossbow.
That's a niche bobblehead, man.
For real.
I
But
don't see
I
him
mean,
up there with Dale and Keith Brooking. Why isn't he on the show, huh?
oh, he's right there. Right there.
Oh, is that a crossbow in his hands next to
Yeah.
the Falcons ball?
Yeah. But anyways, it's hard for me to justify spending my own dollars on that kind of thing. If I
Mm,
was going to do it, I could see myself doing it for a minor league baseball hat versus a jersey for any of those teams. Uh,
yeah.
I know the Dream is a professional club, not a minor league team, but I don't know. The product
And
seems.
therein lies the rub, right? The best talent is on the floor every night. Uh, so that means it's not gonna get better. Check that out, man. Ryan Howard, you got the fly ambiance down the side, to quote Miles Morales.
$100 for that is a little,
It's a Nike, you know.
you
It's got
know,
AT&T on it, man. You gotta pay for those logos.
I'm not a huge fan of the corporate sponsorships on jerseys. I
Apparently, all of the league, the W is AT&T. It's on the back of all their jerseys under the name. It actually looks terrible in a lot of these.
I know a
Good
lot.
night.
Pretty much all your leagues are going to the corporate sponsors. The Braves have that quick creep patch on their sleeves. The
Mm-hmm.
Hawks had that share care or
It's,
whatever. Share
it's YMCA now.
it is YMCA now, but it was that share logo, and then the
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta United have that American Mutual or American Home Insurance. I think it's American Home Insurance. Uh,
Mm.
Big logo across the front. Those don't bother me as much. I think they're more well placed, but that AT&T right there looks awful.
Yeah, it's awful. It's big, it's bold. Looks like the last name almost.
Yeah, there's nothing really nice about that.
American Family Insurance. Yeah, that's right in the middle. You would think that's the team name.
Yeah, it's very common for soccer clubs or
Soccer
football.
kits. Yeah, yeah, they always
Yeah,
have something like that.
but that's how they finance the leagues.
Yeah, that money's got to come from somewhere. We talked about it, man. Black and white still matter, but it's the thing that matters the most is the green, my brother.
Yeah,
I like that blue. I like that blue kit though. I had to pull up on one of those.
the new
See if
one.
I can get on a special since it's so trash right now.
It took
Yeah, the new
me
one.
probably way too long to realize that's a phoenix in the background.
Oh yeah, I see that.
Yeah, it's not
A
very
phoenix
clear.
arose from the ashes.
Yeah,
Wh- What called it out to you?
just looking at it long enough, I was like, "What in the heck is that?" I thought for a second it was like a palm tree or something.
I can see that. The bottom do look like leaves,
But no, it's a
but the
phoenix.
resurgence. Yeah,
Yeah, the resurgence kit.
yeah,
Yeah, I
nice.
like some of I do so I love the fact that Atlanta United, and I don't know if other MLS clubs do it, but they get a new kit like every year. I love how they
Annually, yeah.
constantly refresh and come up with new concepts and just make it new. But I have not invested any of my money in a kit of my own.
I have two. One I didn't buy. The other one I caught on sale, and I got a little too big for it, so I haven't been able to really wear it. Um, gotta get gotta get rid of a little tum tum because it sits on me real snug. It's a smaller one because the one I had, the other one I had was way too big. So I was like, let me go down a size or two. Went down a size too much. I can get into it and it's gonna look nice, like like burly shoulders and arms gonna look like guns, but can't do that with that dad by stomach. I still am working on, so we'll get around to that one.
Yeah.
But what a segue. We mentioned that someone was going to be fired. So it's not Garth Lagerway, but he was on 92.9 The Game last Friday, and they were asking him about the status of Gonzalo Pineda. And he was like, look, you can look at my track record. Firing firing a manager mid-season doesn't usually yield the results that most people think it will. So I'm not a huge fan of that. And that was all before they lost to Charlotte. And they lost that game to Charlotte, and boom, Gonzalo Pineda is fired.
How do
You
you
called for it. So I think you saying it on the pod may have had a weight in his departure from his position. Um,
I think if we rewind that tape, I didn't call for it. I said that there were a lot of people calling for it. And I specifically said in that podcast that I don't know how much he was to blame for the struggles. And
mm,
I feel that there is a person in the organization that deserved to be fired long ago. And Garth Lagerway was asked repeatedly in the post firing press conference about this individual's role in hiring the next coach. That individual is the general manager or vice president of
mhm,
player development or whatever his title is, but Carlos Bocanegra. He has been the
yeah,
common denominator through all of this madness since day one. He's been problems. When this club was successful in its inauguration and the second season with under Tata Martino, Tata was given almost exclusive power to build the roster.
like on his Bill Belichick bag, right?
Yeah. So since the departure of Tata, this team has not been able to put together a roster that has worked under any manager that they've thrown at it, which has been several. And it leads me to believe that A, we're not hiring managers that fit whatever Carlos Bocanegra's player acquisition style is, if he's even
Mm.
if he's even competent at doing that. Or B, we just have a serious gap right there in our ability to put together a complete roster.
Yeah. So with there was a coach that we had in the middle of that, and his first year was bad, but he switched it completely from what Tata used to do as far as just the attacking third. He went more defensive minded, and I think we went to the Eastern Conference Finals, but lost. And if I heard correctly, we were like a Miles Robinson injury away. They thought he would have been a difference maker in the game that we lost. So there was one coach in there. Um, but he changed the style. I would say that Carlos Bocanegra had a hand in the team still. Yeah. So what did he say about when Garth Lagerwey was asked? Was it just avoid, 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 or what did he say about Carlos
He
Bocanegra?
he dodged the question, in my opinion, and said that he himself and a team would be in charge of making all the hiring decisions, that Garth would be conducting those interviews personally,
Yeah.
but he never would address specifically what Carlos Bocanegra's role would be. He just repeatedly, deflected with an answer that, he himself was going to be taking that responsibility, and that there would be a team and there would be a thorough process and investigation, and uh, he would be in every single interview.
Maybe that answer is an answer in and of itself, right? That he didn't give him a vote of confidence says that, if he's not on the way out, he's at least on a much shorter leash. You would think if they're asking that question and Carlos Bocanegra was going to have a role in that, he would actually have addressed it. The fact that he didn't may give us the answer that he didn't want to say.
Yeah, maybe it's just if I feel like if they were going to make a change, that change would have come already,
Hmm.
right? Why
Well, they
why
did. They fired their manager.
But I'm saying for Boca specifically, if they were going to let Boca
Hmm.
walk, he would have been gone already. I do know his contract. I think he has 1 year remaining on it. So they could potentially be waiting out his contract to expire and then just not
Mm,
extend him.
not extend him.
But if that's the case, that's another year of just middling around in the middle, or right now at the bottom of the
Middling in the
table.
middle.
Right now they're at the
They are good.
like they're in the bottom like third of their conference.
Yes, bottom fifth. It's worse than the third.
Yeah.
They're 13th out of 15 teams in the East.
So if they're waiting for his being Carlos Bocanegra's contract to expire to move on from him, I think that's a little too late. But we'll see. Rob Valentino, he stepped in after Frank DeBoer. Frank DeBoer was
Frank
who,
DeBoer, that's who I was talking about. Yeah.
and everything we heard coming out of the locker room during his, time as manager was he just ran guys into the ground, and there was a very lifeless feeling inside the locker room. There was,
Under DeBoer or
yeah,
the interim coach.
no, under
Okay.
DeBoer. And so when Rob Valentino stepped in, all he had to do was kind of uplift the spirit of the club, and they were able to have a pretty decent turnaround to their season. Now, the thought right now is there's not that same kind of attitude in the locker room, that the issues are much deeper, and that
Mm.
it's not going to be so easy for Rob Valentino to step in and make changes to turn around the season. We'll see, you know, time will tell, but it's not a good look. I think Gonzalo Pineda is like the fourth or fifth coach in the very short franchise history.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
they need to get it together. We've said it before. They have had some of the top attendances in all of football and soccer globally over the last several years, and the attendance numbers are waning, the interest is waning.
Hmm.
I don't know that they really want to go into Falcons mode where the fan base only pays attention if you're winning, because that was something special to United, was how much support the 17s gave that club. And if you lose the 17s, that it doesn't bode well for the franchise's future.
It does not. Um, but it's hard to keep your fans engaged if you're not winning. I don't think they've been this bad before. At least not for. And it's still fairly early in the season. When do they start? April, right? And they don't end until September, October-ish. Um, but it's not a whole lot of time left, right? But if you don't win, you're gonna lose the fans. No one wants to go and show up to a game they're gonna lose over and over and over again. No one's gonna pay for that. You're as a fan, you're giving your hard-earned cash to the organization to enjoy the product on the field. If you enjoy it in a tie, okay. If you enjoy it in a win, much better. But if you're paying to go watch them lose over and over, no one's interested in that. I'm sure it's mostly season ticket holders in there at this point because they've
Yeah,
already paid.
we've talked about it. I've said before that Atlanta gets a bad reputation for as a fan base and as a city for sports, because our fan base tends to be more fickle, or at least that's the outer perception. My personal perception is we're just a more um, cautious consumer. I think I
Hmm.
used the word more educated consumer in the past, but I think it's just a more um, cautious consumer. We're gonna spend our money on something we believe in, that is going to provide that entertainment value that you're talking about. That's going to win. That's going to have a good product, and we're not going to give our hard-earned money, as you said, to clubs or teams that don't meet that expectation. So I agree with you. I will say what was unique, or has been unique, about United is it's been more of a culture, more of a
Mm.
movement than like a traditional fan base.
Yeah, but that eventually was going to have to be supported by something else, right? I mean, we wanted soccer in Atlanta, they got soccer. Then we wanted a championship, they got the championship. So the bar was raised in both of those instances, right? And now they're consistently falling below the bar. That disrupts the culture that you built. It was just a matter of time. You can middle and maintain it. You can't lose like they are and maintain it. Now it should be able to come right back, right? Winning cures all. And I don't think they've gone as far down the lines as the Falcons have. They may be on their way there, but I don't think they're approaching that yet.
I
I
did
haven't looked at the attendance numbers, so maybe they are, but
I did notice because the game on Sunday was broadcast on Fox, so I was actually
mm,
able to catch a few. But it was noticeably an emptier stadium. Like there was a
yeah,
lot of empty seats, and I don't know if any of that had anything to do with this water crisis that's happening.
I think it did. Yeah.
Have you
So they
heard?
didn't serve any beverages, no soda. All the fountain machines were down. There was a lot of stuff that was canceled downtown. Like Megan Thee Stallion was supposed to be at Phillips Arena, State Farm Arena on Saturday and Sunday, and they canceled both her concerts. So she had her concert yesterday. Um, my cousin was actually staying. He was scheduled to stay downtown Friday, and then they were going to the concert Saturday. And they got to the hotel, and when the water main broke, they put him out. They're like, "Hey, we got to get your money back, but we're not gonna have any water here, so you can't stay here, right? It's a health or safety hazard, health hazard." So I'm sure that did actually have an impact on it. And apparently, a lot of charlatans. I don't know if that's what they call themselves. I doubt it, but a lot of charlatans came down, made the trip down 85, and were like supposed to be out in force, but they might have, been pushed out and not had the opportunity or the funds to stay somewhere else. So I think we probably had to lean towards the ticket sales for Sunday's game, and I don't know what that would look like, but more that than the broadcast audience, because I think that did have a strong effect.
This is kind of an impromptu side from our original intended discussion, but I did catch a brief segment this morning on the radio where they were talking about this water issue and how there's a general concern about the infrastructure in the city, especially with big world events coming up in a couple years in
Hmm.
next year I believe in the World Cup. So
It's in 26 though, right? I think we got 2 years.
2026, 2 years. So
Yeah.
but there is a general concern about the city's ability to host these events and have the infrastructure to keep up with it. And water is a absolute vital part of that.
Yeah.
You can't, as you said, stay in hotels when they don't have water. The arena needs water for multiple
Yeah.
things, beverages, sanitation,
Bathrooms, bedrooms.
the
Yeah.
whole nine. So I thought it was very interesting just hearing what the radio host had to say and the voice of their concerns. I believe it was Steak Shapiro specifically, him and
Mm.
Sandra who were talking about it. And, it did, raise some questions of what is the city doing to make sure that the infrastructure is taken care of, that all of this will be ready to go, not just for those events, but just for the general day to day, you know, 9 to 5 activities. The city's always got something going on, whether it's,
Atlanta's
concerts,
big popping for sure.
conventions, you name it. So very, very interesting kind of conversation.
I heard a statement said that the water system hadn't been redone in Atlanta since Sherman had marched through here. So they got a lot of BBB money, man. I told you I've seen some of that in my area, right? There were three major bridges, all that surround me that were completely redone, like taken down to the studs, and built up anew. They also are building the electrical system down Glenwood Road. They have these giant steel poles. You remember prime time? I know that wasn't a great experience for you, but that is now a staging area for the new electrical poles that they're putting up down Glenwood. They're also, if you go deeper into Decatur, they are redoing the entire water system, right? Like digging up the road, and it's one lane that's formerly a 5 lane. You got 2 lanes open because they're digging up the entire road all the way up Ponce de Leon. That money has to be available for the city of Atlanta as well, right? And they do get money from FIFA for being awarded some of the games. So they have to do something, right? You can't keep band-aiding it. That would be the worst thing in the world for on the world stage to have all these visitors from around the world and have no solution for them if the water goes out. There's nothing that you can do at that point. Send everybody to Marietta, right? Here in Decatur, we don't really have hotels. We're a residential area. You
Uh,
can't come here.
they got water in the battery.
There you go. Send them up to the battery, man, because you know they abandoned the city. Now they get the World Cup. They're gonna play a game on the Truist.
It would be an absolute disaster if something like that took place during the World Cup. Like you said, on the biggest stage, it would be more than just egg on the face of the city if something like
Man,
that
like
happened.
like a could not Katrina, right? Because that was a
Natural
natural
disaster.
disaster, right? But to the same regard as people just being out and about and not having any assistance provided for days. And this isn't the first, this water main thing isn't the first. This hasn't, another water main broke on Sunday. There were 5 total water mains that broke. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
The bigger one, it took them a couple of days to fix. But while they were putting the band-aids on this one, 4 more broke, bro. That is not sustainable. Do you remember when parts of 85 were underwater?
Was
That was
that
probably 2017,
10, 20?
2016, 2017.
You're not talking
No, it was
about.
after I was out of college.
So there was a period of time when I was in college. I want to say it was like 2009, 2010, somewhere around there, where it rained. It felt like for like 3 weeks straight, and
Mhm.
285 was like underwater because all the sewage like backed up. It's funny.
Was it Six Flags flooded?
Yeah, like it was really bad in Austell and Dallas, but that's
Yeah,
not what you're.
that was 2000. That's the one that wasn't the one I was talking about.
Okay, because that mass
That was
flooding,
2009. Yeah.
was crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking at pictures of Six Flags now. Like the whole Scream Machine is not all of it, but all of the lower portions of it are underwater.
Yeah.
I
Sarah
do
was
remember that.
Sarah was commuting from KSU to Johns Creek and basically had to float down 285 to get home.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
I was downtown during Snowmageddon, where everything
Yeah.
froze.
Snowpocalypse.
Uh, snowpocalypse, and I used to ride MARTA downtown. I wasn't trying to deal with all that traffic. Say what you will, but MARTA is smarter. Just got to plan for their delays because there will be delays. I ride down there for like an hour, and they're like, "All right, state of emergency, everyone go home at the same time." So I'm like, "Oh man, what in the world?" So we waited for like another hour before we started trying to leave, just to shut the store down. And when we start heading to the station, we get word that all north, because the store that I worked at was literally like I could look out the window and see Five Points, and you could hear it walking up, like all northbound travel is delayed. All eastbound travel is delayed because one of the tracks had caught fire. So I couldn't take the train back. Um, One of my coworkers, his stepdad came and rescued us in a pickup truck. It took us like 3 hours to get from downtown Atlanta back to I had parked at the Shanley station.
Have you heard Freddie Freeman's story about that? And
Wasn't he was rescued though, right? That was a bobblehead. Did Chipper rescue him?
yeah, Chipper rescued him on like an ATV or something. But they have a
Yeah.
wild story. He tells it way better than me. So
Today.
Tell me about this story with Chipper. There was an ATV.
Yeah.
There's the snow. You got snowed in, and you
Yeah.
guys said, "Nah, we ain't gonna be. You stay in."
Okay,
So,
yeah.
Tell me about this. Tell me
Okay,
about the story.
so Chipper and I used to live next to each other in Roswell, Georgia. It's about 35, 40 minutes north of Turner Field. And so you know how we do a fan fest here, but back then it was like a caravan. So we went to different schools and stuff. So we had gone to high school and doing all this stuff with the kids, but we got alerts that were like, hey, it's about to snow. Like, we don't know if we should continue to go. But they're like, oh, we got to go to Turner Field because there's a luncheon that we got to go and talk and ask questions. So we go and do that. It's like 1 o'clock. We come out, and our cars are just covered in snow. It's just snowing. And that day, everyone let everybody out of work and everything all at the same time. Okay, so if you thought LA traffic is bad, Atlanta traffic when everyone's on the roads is crazy. So we lived about 40 miles from Turner Field. So I had to try and get home because they canceled the last stop. And it took me 2.5 hours to get from the parking lot of Turner Field to the highway, which should take maybe 90 seconds.
2.5 hours.
Just to get to the highway. And it wasn't like snowing downpour. It was more of, it was ice. It was black ice on the roads. And they didn't salt the roads. There was no one was prepared for this. And so it took like 9 hours for me to get off of the exit of where I lived.
9 hours?
9 hours. Yeah, because cars were going, there's a little hill, cars would go
Y'all
up.
didn't run out of gas?
And then, yeah, so I got 9 hours. I turned off the heat of the car so I could keep I thought that would help keep gas. So then I got to the gas station, which is right off of the exit. So I filled up, and I still had like 8 more miles to get off the road because we lived far off the road. And finally, there was peeing in bottles. You know, what are you going to do? You know, there's TMI. Yeah, there was so much going on trying to get home. And then, so this is why I had to get home because. So we had a couple animals. Chelsea and I lived together in Roswell, and she had a vet appointment for our animals. She left, but I had the only key to the house.
So you had to hurry and get home.
So she couldn't get back into our house and with the animals. And so she ended up going to Chipper's house and staying there with Taylor and his wife, Chipper and his wife, Taylor. So I had to get home so we can get the cat food and stuff like that. So I was just going to stay at Jason's place if I didn't have to, which would have saved a whole, but we got a story out of it. So finally I got to like a shopping center, which was probably 15 minutes from the house. And my phone was dying. I had 1% left. And I was like, I can't make it home. I'm just going to sleep in the car. And I'll try again tomorrow. And Chipper texts me and says, where are you? And I said, I don't know the exact location, the address, but I took a picture of the shopping center and sent it, and then boom, phone died. So that was the last I had, and I was just sitting there, and then like 45 minutes later, there's a guy coming in camo on an ATV, comes into the shopping center and skids out like on purpose, and it's Chipper in full camo gear, and he had brought a jacket for me. He was like, let's go, we're going home. And so I was in, so we were on the caravan there, like, and you could see like leather jacket and pants, and I had Louboutin shoes on. But the pants right there came up to like kind of where my pants are now.
So your ankles are probably bleeding.
Okay, so it's like 20 degrees, and we're on an ATV, and he's going like as fast as this ATV can go. I am like holding on to him for dear life, And we get back, we get back to his house. I guess Taylor didn't want him to go because kind of dangerous and stuff like that. But my wife Chelsea was like, "Go get him, go get him." And so he found me. He got me back, and they had the fire going. I sat in front of the fire for like 20 minutes because I was just shaking. And then we took my wife's car home, and we were able to get home. But that is the story because Atlanta wasn't prepared for the snow.
That's a great story.
It's a great story, and then that's how he showed up. I mean, it's crazy. And then they made a bobblehead out of it. And then we had
out of that?
Yeah, there was a bobblehead of him and I.
Both of you guys on the ATV?
And then we did a commercial. He was driving. We were at Turner Field, and he was driving an ATV in Turner Field. And
Good for him.
He's all retired, so he had nothing to do.
Yeah.
Because he had been retired for like 2 years. So
That's.
I mean, it was wild, but I don't want to ever go through that again.
How about those Braves, man?
Man, I'm honestly sick of talking about the Braves, to be honest, just because I'm so disappointed in the way that they've been playing. And I keep seeing this narrative over and over by fans or even by some radio personnel, Squidbilly, that aren't overly concerned.
Your favorite person?
Yeah, they're not overly concerned, and I get it, right? Like I fully understand the reasoning behind it. The Braves record this time of year is similar, if not the exact same, as their record this time of year last year. Their hard hit ball rate is still really high. Their expected hit rate is much, much greater than what they're actually achieving. There's all these metrics that say, everything should be fine, that they'll just turn it on or things will start going their way and it will all be fine and dandy. But the eye test is not telling the same story, right? They lost 9-0 today to the Boston Red Sox. They tallied one miserable hit the entire game. They will have a game like yesterday where they scored 8 runs, and then they'll go 3 weeks with barely scraping by. And it's just so frustrating as a fan. The product just doesn't look good. Today we started Schellenbach or Schwellenbach.
Spencer Schwellenbach. Yeah, I see that.
And he's got a lot of promise. He's just not ready. There's a reason why he didn't start the year in the big club, right? There's a reason why he started the year in, A ball. He doesn't have a whole lot of experience. I think it was Glavin on the call today, and Glavin had nothing but positive things to say about him. Said he liked his mechanics, liked his stuff, thought he just needed to learn and grow and develop, but he's going to be great, and that may be fine, and that may be true, but we need, Major League Baseball caliber pitchers pitching. We need to stabilize that 5th rotation spot. We need our bats to start getting on base. We need to manufacture runs. We need to not just be living and dying by the long ball. I don't even want to look at what our strikeouts are compared to the league average, because we're making average at best pitchers look like Cy Young candidates. It's abysmal. The product is not good right now.
Woo! Hey man, you're on fire, man. That was nothing to add, right? I don't have a whole lot to add. That I agree with your sentiment.
I told you before we started, I had to get it off my chest. It's been eating at me.
I'm a chest and said it with your chest. Yeah.
I'm a lifelong Braves fan, right? I knew the Braves before I could walk, and they are the one franchise in this city that, like, I hold near and dear. I love the Falcons. I love the Hawks. I love the other teams, but the Braves mean something different to me. My memories of my grandfather, rest his soul, were going to his house, watching the Braves. My mom raised me on the Braves even when we lived in LA, even when we lived in Chicago. When we went to Wrigley, it was to see the Braves play the Cubs, right? Like I was raised on Atlanta Braves baseball. I've played baseball my entire life, long before football, basketball, or any other sport that I ever learned. I played baseball. So baseball is near and dear to me. And it just hurts me when the Braves, especially with the amount of talent they have on their roster. We saw it last year. The talent is there. To just be going out there and playing piss poor baseball is not acceptable. And what's worse about it is they're not having fun. And the thing that has been so enjoyable as a fan to watch the Braves the last couple years is to see how much fun they were having, even when they were losing, because you're not going to win them all. It's a long season. We talked about it last week. 162 games, you're not going to win them all. But if you're going out there and you're playing with heart, and you're playing with fight and enjoyment, and it's just a different product. It's a more enjoyable fan experience, and they're not giving us that right now. I think their biggest issue is their pressing. They're in their fields a little too much. They understand the expectation and that they're not meeting it, and their response to it is to press a little bit and to try to turn it on instead of just going out there and playing loose.
What would you have them do? Like what can get the Braves back to where they need to be? Is it a trade? I saw an article that said, the most important thing right now is a fifth starter as opposed to replacing Ronnie's production. What do you put your GM hat on? You're AA. MB is now AA. What are you doing to bring them out of this funk? Is it a trade? Is it locker room party? You can buy some, I don't know.
They need I don't think they're going to get it, but they need some time off maybe, like just an experience outside of the game, or just to remember why they do it, right? Strip out all the expectations on World Series, division champions. Go out there and just have fun, right? Like you're getting paid
Like a
millions.
Rodman Vegas vacation, right?
Yeah.
Cut loose.
They need to find a way to cut loose, right? If that's putting a few new faces in the locker room that are going to bring some energy, then do that, right? Like that's what Jock Peterson did, when he was signed in our World Series run. He brought some juice. They got to have fun. They got to get that ping pong table out. They got to get those cards out and just start just enjoying the grind again, because right now it's bad. And honestly, it's very eerily similar to how we've played in the playoffs the last couple of years, when we've had that, break. We've gotten a little tight and we've forgotten how to hit the freaking ball, which they're not necessarily forgetting how to hit the ball right now. They are striking out a lot. But as I said before, our hard hit rate is still one of the tops in the league. They're just, a little bit of bad luck hitting it into spots that are occupied, or, balls are hanging up just long enough for someone to get to it. But they're not having fun, and it's harder to watch, even in the losses.
It's hard to have fun when you're losing like that, though. Like when you can't get the bat on the ball, or you can't put up runs, let's say that. And that's what you're known for doing. That's what you know you're capable of doing. And for whatever reason, you're not doing it. It's like the chicken or the egg, right? Do the wins come and then they start having fun, or do they have fun and then the wins? I don't know which way that wind blows.
So we didn't hit on it. I think it was a storyline that kind of got swept under the rug a little bit in the off season. But how much of what's going on can be attributed to the loss of Eric Young and Ron Washington?
Yeah.
Ozzy will talk about the relationship with Ron Washington and what it meant for him on the field in terms of, fielding, but how much did they impact that locker room vibe? I don't know, but could all of this be kind of a symptom of that transition? You lost your first base coach, you lost your third base coach.
Third base coach.
You
He took him with him, right? When he went to
know,
the Angels. Ron Washington's with the Angels now. He's the skipper out there.
yeah, I don't know where Eric Young went. He may have gone with Ron Washington. It would not surprise me. It is a good question though. Like, what do you do to get this team playing loose again? But enough about the Braves. I feel like we talked about them in spades last week or the week prior, and I got what I needed to get off my chest, and I'm ready to move on to some more, I guess, optimistic, more exciting potential news. Is the Falcons are going through some of their summer workouts, OTAs. There have been some pretty interesting headlines coming down. One that I took particular interest in is this notion that Kyle Pitts has a personal vendetta that he would like to settle in, basically shutting up all the naysayers and doing what he knows he's capable of doing.
Shut me up, Kyle, because I am one of those naysayers. I am one of the ones who was like, "Hey, let's trade him." Um, but he's back, and I do want him to succeed. But shut me up, right? I'm gonna have to see it on the field. Um, there was a number that was dropped. I think he's had 3 touchdowns in 5 years, something crazy like that, which is a ridiculous stat for somebody who's drafted number 4 overall. I can't even say that I remember seeing flashes at this point.
I mean, his rookie season. So I feel like the production speaks for itself, right? The lack of production speaks for itself.
Yeah.
But he hasn't had a competent quarterback since Matt Ryan, and it was the worst year of Matt Ryan's career that season, and he still had 1,000 yards receiving. So
You got to look at there. So there was a point brought up to that wherein they mentioned like Justin Jefferson without Kurt last year, still balled out. Still was Justin Jefferson. The man put up 1,000 yards in only 10 games, right?
who was throwing
Kyle,
to him?
my guy alopecia, he tore our hearts out. Now Justin Jefferson didn't play in that game against the
yeah.
Falcons, but former Steeler, then he was in Arizona. Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, the
Josh
Atlanta
Dobbs
boy.
threw to him. Yeah. There are a couple more people that threw to him, but he wasn't that guy. Then they brought up Roddy White, right? Roddy White had a season where he went over 1,000. He had Joey Harrington. He had 3 different quarterbacks.
Matt Schwab.
I don't think Schwab was one of them. Maybe he was. But 3 bums. That's why I say I don't think that Matt Schwab was one of them. But he had 3 bums, still put up the numbers, right? I know he was injured for a year. Maybe he was injured for 2 years. Who knows? The production you said speaks for itself, or lack of production speaks for itself. But I just haven't seen it. I haven't seen anything. His rookie year was fine. He caught 1 touchdown. He had 1,000 yards. Okay. We haven't seen anything close to that since then.
He was hurt
Jonnu Smith looked more explosive than Kyle Pitts last year. So yeah, if he's on a redemption tour, he gonna have to slide by my crib in Decatur because I'm one of the detractors for sure.
So what's the benchmark, right? What level does he have to achieve to what's going to give your stamp of approval on this year production wise?
Honestly, it wouldn't take that much. Um, what I would say as far as if because this is we gave him his 5th year option. We did not, right? He has not signed any extension. He's still on his rookie contract. Um,
I think
if we're
they
gonna pay him, I want 1,000 yards. Let's call it 5 or 6 touchdowns.
half a dozen touchdowns and 1,000 yards receiving. I'm pretty sure we picked up his 5th year option. I could be wrong on that. I'll do some research after we're done, but I'm pretty sure we decided to pick up his 5th year. On that same kind of note, Bijan, the other big headline I saw was Bijan talking about his role in this new offensive scheme and comparing it to one CMC.
Yeah, that's exciting for me because now he showed it, right? He wasn't heavily utilized last year, not as much as you would want a number 8 overall pick to be used. He's got a backfield mate that's pretty dope in Tyler Algier, so still not gonna see like Derrick Henry numbers, but to be used in the capacity of Christian McCaffrey, I can see that from an athletic talent standpoint. He showed flashes that he can do that stuff. He can do the same things that Christian McCaffrey is doing. So I don't think it's a reach. I think CMC is the best. He's the best maybe player in the league. No, Pat. I think that's Patty still, but Christian McCaffrey's definitely up there. Definitely the best running back.
I
Right?
think
He's doing things that are crazy, and that's a high aspiration, but I don't think it's out of his reach.
I think Christian McCaffrey is a better athlete overall than Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes.
Just
Yeah.
from an athletic standpoint. But
Better athlete, yeah. But is
there's
Christian McCaffrey the best athlete in the league? No.
no. I don't know
Uh-uh.
who owns that title. There's some pretty
Yeah. I mean, it's
ridiculous.
probably like a defensive back, or a wide receiver. Running backs probably are some of the most athletic guys, but you gotta think like Aaron Donald was just a freak. Like he was fast and he was the strongest man in the league. That's like athletic. I
King
was saying best player, like in their position across the board. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback, but he's probably the best player in the league to me.
Yeah. King Henry is probably in that top athletic. He's a freak of nature, man.
Yeah, he is.
Absolute beast, strong, agile, just fast, all of them.
I'm definitely tripping on the way to tackle him. Right?
Oh.
Oh God.
I'm running. I'm just getting out the way.
Oh,
There was a
Lamar's a hell of an athlete too.
just to go back one step. There was a interview that Morton Anderson was talking about when he would have to kick kickoffs and how he would kick the ball and then sprint to the sideline. And coach was getting on to him in a film room one day in front of the rest of the team, and he basically responds with, "Coach, you don't pay me to tackle." And
That's a good story.
I imagine that when if it was King Henry and me, like I'm sprinting to the sideline. I don't want that smoke.
That's a business decision. That's what they call that, right? Like,
Yeah.
I need to play the rest of these games, man. I can't be set down for another 8 games for trying to tackle a tank.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But no, man, I'm excited about Bijan. He's probably if there's a player that I'm most excited about this season coming up is Bijan.
Yeah. Just to play devil's advocate a little bit, right? I agree with you that we saw some flashes of brilliance from Bijan just in his wiggle and his excitability on the field. but homeboy had as many fumbles as he did touchdowns. That's gotta change.
Yeah, and I don't think I mean, maybe Dez was sweating all over the ball, man. Who knows? Some of those were his fault, some were not his fault. Right? Like a bad handoff. There was definitely some of his fault. He fumbled too much. Gotta correct that. We don't want the fumble rooskies out here. Out here looking like Tiki Barber. He had that fire season and he fumbled it away literally by fumbling. I think I had him on my fantasy team that year where he really balled out. And, Theo is he's super aggressive with the negative points for fumbling. He just hates fumblers. So that really tanked me, man. But nah, that is something that he does. He'll have to get a hand on for sure.
Yeah.
Is there somebody waiting in the wings? Tyler Allgeier's a dog. So I still want him to get some run. I just want Bijan to get more.
One of the other headlines I saw today was about AJ Terrell being healthy, which I think are getting close to fully healthy. I think that's a positive sign. They asked a question, and I want your opinion. It was John Fricky. He was asking, I believe it was this weekend, what do you think is the strongest unit on the team? Like, what's the best overall position group? And what is the weakest position group? I'll go ahead and give mine. I think the weakest is the cornerbacks. That's the tie-in with AJ Terrell. But I want to get your take. I'll tell you who I think the strongest position group is after you go.
Strongest position group. Quarterback. No. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking running back just because I know that both of those guys can go for 1,000 yards easy. It's not there's a lot of unprovens. So what I would go with as the weakest, you know, I won't say them anymore. I would have said the defensive line was the weakest, but based on the players that we got, I don't think that will be the weakest link. And I think Grady's going to come back and be Grady again.
So John Fricky,
I like Clark Phillips. What was Fricky's pick?
His strongest was the interior defensive line, specifically.
Interior defensive line.
Yeah.
I get it, like the D tackles, but that's not the unit is the defensive line, right?
Yeah, I mean he got a little specific with it. I'm not mad at it. You know, a lot of the callers also felt that the running back position was the strongest room. I was tempted to try and call in because I feel like I am unique in my take, but you kind of echoed my same feelings. I honestly think the strongest position group is the quarterback room.
Yeah.
Which is funny because last year it was by far our weakest.
And you can only play one of them, right?
Yes,
but no, it's grown by leaps and bounds.
By picking up Kirko Chains and then drafting Michael Penix, that room is by far, I think, the strength of this team.
The only reason that I think I would put running back above it is because both of those guys will see spin. They're going to get on the field. Whereas if things are going the way we want them to go, Kirk Cousins will play a lot this season. Maybe we see Mike in some garbage time. We're beating the brakes off the Chiefs, But yeah, between Bijan and Algiers, that's a tight little room there. That's a lot happening for an opponent to come in and deal with.
Yeah. Are you gonna go to any of the open workouts?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get up to one of those. Yeah.
It's been a while since I've looked at the schedule, but I think it was kind of conflicting with my availability One of them, I believe, is when I'm gone on a bachelor trip. But I'd like to go. I am very excited about the season. It's going to be here. I think we're less than 100 days away. So
They did 100 ranking the best 100 players in light of being 100 days out. One of the things I thought you were going to say about AJ Terrell is that he was on the outside looking in as far as I think it's top 10 on Pro Football Focus for his position.
I didn't see that.
They said he was
ranking.
snubbed.
I don't know. You know my feelings. I will
I do.
reserve my opinion until I am proven wrong, but I think he was boosted by the weakness of his supporting cast.
Chris Lindstrom was listed as the top guard by PFF, and Jesse Bates was near the top safeties. Pro Football Focus didn't include Atlanta Falcons cornerback AJ Terrell among its top 32 cornerbacks on its last ranking of the position.
Now that I say is a lot spicier than the top 10, top 32.
That is spicier than the top 10 for sure.
That means he's worse than the number 1 and
number 2 on someone's team.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams out there that have some good tandems though. Like Miami, they have Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey. I think the Chiefs got a fire tandem now too. Denver, Patrick Surtain Jr., and I can't remember who's on the other side of him, but no, they dog my man. I think that is a snub. We'll see though. Maybe he can respond. Maybe he go on that revenge tour with Kyle Pitts. He'll do for you what Kyle Pitts is gonna do for me. Right.
All right.
Surprise and wonder us.
Let's take that one to the bank.
Take it to the bank, man.
Yeah. So, we've gone, I think, well over our target as usual. So, just to wrap everything up, I wanted to leave with, in light of the NBA Finals kicking off tomorrow, I just wanted to know what your predictions are for the outcome.
Dallas in 6. Who you got?
I too have Dallas, and I feel in my gut in 5, but I think the safer pick is 6.
Yeah, that's why I go with it, right?
Yeah, but I'm gonna say Dallas in 5. I think will be.
The Celtics are gonna blow it. In my mind, that's who they are.
I think back to a podcast we did a few weeks ago where you went on to say something outlandish like King James will make the Hawks a finals contender by himself.
Top 4 in the East, but out of the play-in.
Yeah,
and he would. I stand on that.
And you went on to just trash the East, saying how weak the East is. So I do think it would be quite comical if the East takes home the trophy. And I do think they have a legitimate shot. Like, I do think
they are the odds-on favorite. Vegas says that the Celtics are going to win.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is their year. If now, when. They don't win it this year, they should blow it up. Send Jaylen Brown down here to Atlanta. Get Jason Tatum another running mate.
I honestly don't take this the wrong way. Jason Tatum is a great player, but I don't think he is a bona fide team number 1 superstar, like could lead a championship team. I think.
That's how I feel that way as well. That's why I don't want him. I take Jaylen Brown. I don't want Jason Tatum because he's not playoff Jason as advertised. He shies away from the moment.
Apparently, he was pretty upset over Jaylen Brown winning the MVP of
No way. Was he really?
Yeah.
That'd be right on brand if he was.
And I'm like, you've got to be too self-absorbed, egotistical not to see how that series played out and the importance of Jaylen Brown. Like, how bad of a teammate are you that you can't revel in the success of your brother and just think about your own accolades, right? Like, at the end of the day, if you win a championship, who cares who gets the damn MVP?
Did you watch that video that got dropped in the group chat on Jaylen Brown?
No, I didn't.
Oh, bro, you gotta watch it. This kid's amazing, right? Like in his off season, he's a adjunct professor at MIT. He speaks multiple languages. He plays multiple instruments. Um, is like a certified genius. He was recruited by all the blue chip colleges coming out of high school here, and he chose Cal because of their academics program.
Hmm.
This dude, I mean, he is quite amazing. You
Yeah.
should check that out.
You made me think of like Terrence Howard. Have you ever
Mm,
seen some of his interviews?
yeah,
Dude is
it's a
like
Wilder win. He seems really really smart.
he doesn't seem smart. He is ridiculously smart, like savant level smart when it comes to science and mathematics, and it's just like it comes out of total left field. I think of like
Right.
Hustle and Flow and
And
stuff like
Empire,
that.
yeah.
and it's hard to see him outside of character, but yeah, no, those people, it always blows my mind. Not saying that people can't be amazing at multiple things, but when you see someone
Right.
outside of their typical element and you see them doing these other tremendous things, it's always just kind of awe-inspiring.
He said something on the Joe Rogan podcast that started to make the rounds, and I thought I did snicker at it, right? But if this is true, then it is just another amazing thing about Terrence Howard. He goes, what was your earliest memory? I don't remember what Joe Rogan said because I have watched this clip. But Terrence Howard goes, mine was like the falling dream, and instead of hitting the ground, I woke up in my mother's womb. That's his first childhood. That's my man's first childhood memory, and that was a wilder take. So I don't know. I do want to watch that full Joe Rogan interview though. I
There,
hear they're dropping some clues in there to. They talk a lot about the MNRA vaccine, from what I've heard. So
the part of that interview that I saw quite a bit of that kind of raised my eyes is just the way he breaks down the periodic table and the way that he visualizes the periodic table and he relates it to like sound and color and music, and it's just very fascinating because it just gives you a glimpse into how different brains work. And basically he talks about how the periodic table is organized and how elements and waves and all of these things are related, and how the way we visualize the periodic table doesn't make a whole lot of sense in terms of what it's representing.
yeah,
And when you start to look at it in a different way, it really starts to make more sense about actual physical properties of these elements and stuff. It's just amazing. You'll have to check it out. I'll link it into
oh
the
well,
description for sure. But
okay, yeah, I'll check that out.
yeah. But yeah, man, with that, we'll call it a wrap. It's been another good one. I've enjoyed this discussion, I think, a little bit more than some of our recent.
Yeah,
But don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You know, like Bitcoin, we're headed towards the moon. Just gotta
Bitcoin, BTC, baby, 71 racks to the moon.
Yeah, man. Just keep on that grind. Appreciate all the love and support you guys show. Give us some comments. You know, we'd love to hear from you.
POP, hold it down.
Peace.
Peace.